need
The
to act
late
now.
August
This can't
sun
wait any
painted
longer.
Riverside
Please, I'm
University
not
in
sure I can
shades
do
of
this right
gold and
now.
You have
amber
to.
as
There's no other
students flooded
choice.
back to campus for senior year. Maya Rodriguez stood on the balcony of Zara's off-campus apartment, her dark hair caught in the warm breeze, surveying the chaos below, freshmen hauling boxes, reunited friends embracing, the familiar energy of new beginnings. Maya. Get in here, Zara's voice called from inside. He's here. Maya smiled and headed back into the apartment, where Zara was setting out appetizers for her welcome-back party. Zara Okonkwo had been Maya's best friend since freshman orientation, when they'd bonded over terrible cafeteria food and a shared love of late-night philosophy debates. Where Maya was all fire and passion, Zara was steady and methodical, the perfect balance. "Who's here?" Maya asked, stealing a piece of cheese. "My brother. Kai finally made it from Boston. You have to meet him." Maya had heard about Kai for years, the brilliant older brother pursuing his doctorate at MIT, the one who sent care packages and called every Sunday. She'd seen photos, tall, sharp features, that same warm smile Zara had. But she'd never met him in person. The door opened, and Kai Okonkwo walked in with a duffel bag slung over his shoulder, and Maya felt something shift in the air. He was taller than his photos suggested, with deep brown skin and expressive eyes that seemed to calculate and assess everything. He wore a faded MIT hoodie and jeans, somehow managing to look both casual and put together. "Zara," he embraced his sister, lifting her off the ground. "Kai, this is Maya, my best friend I've told you about." Kai turned to Maya, extending his hand. The famous Maya. Architecture major, coffee addict, won't watch any movie made after 1985. The famous Kai, Maya countered, shaking his hand firmly. Astrophysics, pretentious about everything, thinks science is superior to art. His eyebrows rose. "I never said that. You didn't have to. It's in the degree choice." Zara laughed nervously. "Okay, well, I'm going to check on the music." As the party filled with people, Maya found herself repeatedly drawn into debates with Kai. He'd make an observation, she'd counter it. He'd challenge her perspective, she'd defend it with passion. Other partygoers drifted away from their intensity, but neither noticed. "Architecture is just applied physics," Kai said, gesturing with his wine glass. "You're working within constraints set by natural laws." "Architecture is art," Maya shot back, her eyes flashing. "We create spaces that make people feel something. When's the last time an equation made someone cry? The Einstein field equations made me cry. They're beautiful. You're impossible. You're stubborn." They stood close now, both breathing harder from the argument's energy. Kai stepped back to make a point and bumped the side table. His wine glass tilted, and dark red liquid splashed across Maya's open sketchbook, the one she'd left there earlier, filled with months of work. "No," Maya grabbed it, but the damage was done. Ink ran, drawings blurred, hours of careful work destroyed. "I'm so sorry," Kai said, genuine horror crossing his face. "Let me." "Don't touch it," Maya's voice was cold. She carefully closed the book, wine dripping from the edges. "Just, don't." "Maya, I really didn't mean." "I know you didn't mean to. You don't mean anything, do you? You just exist in your world of numbers and theories where nothing has real consequences." She knew she was being unfair, that it was an accident, but the loss of her work combined with how unsettled he made her feel created a perfect storm. Kai's jaw tightened. "That's not fair. Life's not fair." "Excuse me." Maya escaped to the bathroom, clutching her ruined sketchbook, her heart pounding for reasons she couldn't fully name. When she looked in the mirror, her cheeks were flushed, her breathing unsteady. This was just anger, she told herself. Just frustration. She emerged 20 minutes later to find Kai had left. Zara approached with sympathetic eyes. "He feels terrible. He wanted to stay and apologize properly, but thought you needed space." He's insufferable, Maya muttered. He's actually really great once you get to know him. You two just got off on the wrong foot. We got off on the only foot we'll ever need. I plan to avoid your brother for the rest of his visit. Zara laughed. He's staying for the semester. He got a visiting researcher position. Maya's stomach dropped. The whole semester? Yep. So you two better figure out how to coexist, because I'm not choosing between my brother and my best friend. That night, alone in her studio apartment, Maya tried to salvage what she could from the sketchbook. But as she worked, she kept remembering the way Kai's eyes lit up when he talked about the universe, the warmth of his laugh, the electric feeling of standing close to him during their argument. She hated him, she decided firmly. She absolutely hated how he made her feel uncertain and alive and completely off balance. The fact that she was lying to herself wouldn't become clear for several more weeks. The morning sun filtered through pine trees as Maya trudged up the mountain trail, seriously regretting her decision to join Zara's hiking trip. 2 days in the wilderness with limited cell service had seemed like a good idea when Zara first proposed it. That was before Maya knew Kai would be coming. Keep up, slowpoke, Zara called from ahead, where she hiked beside her brother with annoying ease. Some of us didn't grow up climbing mountains, Maya called back, adjusting her backpack straps. Kai glanced back, and even from a distance, she could see the smirk. We grew up in suburban New Jersey. There were no mountains. Then how are you not dying like I am? Superior conditioning, he said, and Maya wanted to throw a pinecone at his head. They'd been avoiding each other for 2 weeks since the party, which proved difficult since Kai kept showing up wherever Maya was, the coffee shop where she studied, the campus bookstore, the Indian restaurant where she grabbed Friday night dinners. Riverside wasn't that small. It felt like the universe was conspiring against her. Water break, Zara announced, and Maya gratefully collapsed onto a fallen log. Kai handed her his water bottle without comment when she'd emptied hers. Maya wanted to refuse on principle but was too thirsty. Their fingers brushed during the exchange, and she pretended not to notice the way her pulse jumped. Thanks, she muttered. You're welcome. They continued in silence until early afternoon, when the trail narrowed along a ridge with loose rocks. Maya stepped wrong, her ankle twisted, and suddenly she was falling. Strong arms caught her before she hit the ground. Kai steadied her, his hands firm on her waist. You okay? Fine, Maya tried to put weight on her foot and gasped. Pain shot up her leg. Let me see, Kai knelt, gently probing her ankle through her hiking boot. His touch was surprisingly careful. It's swelling. We need to get you down the mountain. I can walk. No, you can't, he looked up at Zara. How far to the campsite? Maybe 3 miles. I'll carry her. Absolutely not, Maya protested. I'm not being carried like some damsel in distress. Kai stood, his expression patient but firm. Maya, you can accept help without it meaning you're weak. Your ankle needs rest, not 3 miles of hiking. Something in his tone, no mockery, no superiority, just genuine concern, made Maya's resistance crumble. Fine. But I'm not happy about it. Duly noted. Kai crouched down, and Maya climbed onto his back, her arms wrapped around his shoulders, her cheek pressed against his neck. She could feel the steady rhythm of his breathing, the warmth of his skin, the surprising ease with which he carried her weight. Zara led the way, chatting over her shoulder about nothing in particular, giving them space. Maya tried to focus on the scenery, the bird calls, anything but how perfectly she seemed to fit against Kai's back. I really am sorry about your sketchbook, Kai said quietly, his voice rumbling through his chest. I know. I overreacted. You had a right to be upset. I could have been less dramatic about it. She felt him chuckle. Where's the fun in that? They fell into comfortable silence, and Maya found herself relaxing against him, her initial embarrassment fading. By the time they reached camp, her ankle throbbed less than her awareness of everywhere they touched. That night, sitting around the campfire with Zara and two other friends who'd driven in from the lower campground, Maya found herself watching Kai across the flames. He was talking about the James Webb Telescope, his face animated, his hands painting pictures in the air. "You're staring," Zara whispered. "I'm not. You are. And he keeps looking at you too when you're not watching." Maya's heart skipped. "You're imagining things." Later, after the others had gone to their tents, Maya sat alone by the dying fire, her injured ankle propped on a log. She heard footsteps and looked up to find Kai approaching with 2 mugs. "Hot chocolate," he offered. "Figured you could use it." "Thanks." Maya took the mug, wrapping her hands around its warmth. Kai sat beside her, not too close but near enough that she was aware of him. "Can I ask you something?" "Sure." "Why architecture? What made you choose it?" Maya considered the question, surprised by his genuine interest. "When I was 10, my abuela, my grandmother, took me to see the Sagrada Familia in Barcelona. We couldn't afford the trip, but she'd saved for years. When we walked inside and I saw how the light came through those windows, how the columns looked like trees reaching toward heaven, I felt something shift inside me. I realized that buildings could make you feel closer to something bigger than yourself. That's what I want to create." Kai was quiet for a moment, his expression thoughtful in the firelight. "That's beautiful. I never thought about architecture that way. What about you? Why study the stars?" "My parents died when I was 15. Car accident." His voice was steady but soft. "For a long time, everything felt random and cruel. Then one night, I went outside and looked up at the stars, these ancient patterns that had been there long before humans, that would be there long after. There was something comforting about that permanence, that order. I wanted to understand it." Maya felt her chest tighten with unexpected empathy. "I'm sorry. I didn't know. Zara doesn't talk about it much." "It's okay, it was 9 years ago." He looked at her, and in his eyes she saw old grief transformed into purpose. "We all find our own ways to make sense of chaos, I guess. You build spaces that touch people's souls. I map the universe. When you put it that way, maybe science and art aren't so different. Maybe we were both right at the party. Maybe we were both being stubborn." Kai smiled, genuine and warm, and Maya felt something dangerous bloom in her chest. This wasn't hatred. This was so much worse. Her phone buzzed, a text from Derek, her ex, asking to meet up. She'd been avoiding his calls for weeks. "Everything okay?" Kai asked. "Yeah, just complications." He didn't push, and she was grateful. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the stars, and Maya realized that the ground beneath her carefully constructed defenses was beginning to shift. 3 weeks later, Maya stood in her architecture studio at midnight, surrounded by models, blueprints, and half-empty coffee cups. Her senior thesis project, a planetarium designed to bring astronomy to underserved communities, was due for review in 2 days, and she'd hit a wall with the dome calculations. "You're going to give yourself a stroke," Zara said from the doorway, where she'd appeared with takeout. "I can't get the acoustics right. Sound behaves weirdly in dome structures, and I need this to be perfect for the star shows. You know who would know about planetarium acoustics?" Maya glared at her. "Don't say it. My brother literally works in planetariums for his research. He'd help if you asked." "I'm not asking Kai for help." "Why not? You two seemed fine after the camping trip." They had been fine, too fine. Maya had caught herself thinking about their fireside conversation, replaying the weight of his hands on her waist when he'd caught her fall, looking for him in crowds. It was getting dangerous. "Because," Maya said weakly. "Because you like him," Zara said matter-of-factly. "I do not. Maya. I've known you for 4 years. You get that specific look when you're trying to convince yourself of something that isn't true. Zara sat on the work table. Besides, he asks about you constantly. What you're working on, if you're eating enough, whether your ankle healed properly. Maya's heart did something complicated. He does. Constantly. It's actually annoying, Zara grinned. Professor Cross suggested Kai as a consultant anyway. She emailed me to pass along the message since you've been difficult to reach. Maya groaned. Fine. But only for the project. Kai arrived 20 minutes later, despite the late hour. He took one look at her calculations and immediately spotted the error. Here, you're treating sound like light. But in an enclosed dome, you need to account for reverberation time. Look. He grabbed a pencil and began sketching corrections. They worked side by side for hours, Kai explaining physics concepts while Maya translated them into design elements. Around 3 a.m., they took a break, sitting on the studio floor with their backs against the wall, eating cold pad thai from Zara's delivery. You're really talented, Kai said, studying her model. This design is brilliant. Thanks to your math. My math is just numbers. You're the one who imagined something that could change people's lives. He looked at her, and the intensity in his gaze made her breath catch. You're pretty amazing, Maya Rodriguez. The air between them grew thick with unspoken things. Kai leaned slightly closer, his eyes dropping to her lips. Maya's heart hammered. She wanted this, wanted him, so much it scared her. The studio door burst open. Derek Chen stood there, looking rumpled and determined. Maya, we need to talk. You've been avoiding me for weeks. He stopped, noticing Kai. Who's this? Maya stood quickly, putting distance between herself and Kai. Derek, what are you doing here at 3 a.m.? I saw your studio light on. I miss you, Maya. We were good together. One fight shouldn't have ended us. It wasn't one fight. We wanted different things. We can work through it. Derek moved closer, ignoring Kai's presence. Just give me another chance. Before Maya could respond, Derek kissed her, a clumsy, presumptuous kiss that tasted of desperation. Maya pushed him away, anger flaring. Derek, no, we're done. I've told you that. She turned to explain to Kai, but he was already gathering his papers, his expression carefully neutral. I should go, Kai said. You two need to talk. Kai, wait. But he was already walking out, and Maya felt something precious slipping through her fingers. She turned on Derek. You need to leave. Now. And don't come back. Maya. Now, Derek. After he left, Maya stood alone in her studio, surrounded by the evidence of her collaboration with Kai, feeling like she'd just made a terrible mistake. The next day, she tried to call Kai. He didn't answer. She texted, no response. Zara reported he was busy with research and seemed distant. 2 days later, at the department mixer celebrating the end of midterms, Maya finally saw him across the room. He looked tired, and when their eyes met, he didn't smile. She started toward him, determined to explain, when she felt a hand on her arm. Derek, somehow still not getting the message, had cornered her again. Maya, please, just hear me out. Derek, I've been clear. He kissed her again, and this time Maya shoved him hard enough that he stumbled. The room went quiet. In the sudden silence, she heard the door close and looked up in time to see Kai's back disappearing through it. If you ever touch me again without permission, I'll file harassment charges, Maya said loudly, her voice shaking with anger. Then she ran after Kai. She found him in the parking lot, keys in hand. Kai. He stopped but didn't turn around. It's not what you think. Derek and I are done. He won't leave me alone, but I don't want him. I haven't wanted him since. She stopped, realizing what she was about to say. Since what? Kai turned, and his expression was raw, vulnerable in a way she'd never seen. "Since I met you," Maya whispered. "Since you carried me down that mountain and told me about the stars and made me laugh even when I was trying to hate you." "Why were you trying to hate me?" "Because it was easier than admitting how much I liked you. Because you're Zara's brother and that complicates everything. Because when I'm around you, I feel things I'm not ready to feel." Kai closed the distance between them in 3 strides. "And what do you feel?" Maya looked up at him, her heart in her throat. "Terrified. I feel terrified." "Me too," he said softly. Then his hand cupped her cheek, his thumb brushing her skin with devastating gentleness. "But I'd rather be terrified with you than safe without you." "Kai." "I'm leaving," he interrupted. "Back to MIT. In 3 days. I can't stay here feeling like this and not being able to do anything about it." Maya felt panic surge through her. "You're leaving? What choice do I have, Maya? You run every time we get close." "I can't keep pretending I don't." He stopped, his jaw tight. "I need to go." He walked away, and Maya stood frozen in the parking lot, watching the one thing she wanted disappear into the night. Maya sat in Professor Elena Cross's office the next morning, ostensibly to discuss her thesis, but Elena, perceptive as always, saw through her immediately. "You look like someone who lost something important," Elena observed, setting aside her glasses. "I think I did." Maya's voice was small. Elena leaned back in her chair. "When I was your age, I fell in love with my best friend's cousin. I was terrified of making things complicated, of ruining friendships, of all the what-ifs. So I said nothing, and he moved to London, and I spent the next 10 years wondering. What happened? I married someone else. Divorced 5 years later. Ran into him at a conference. He'd married too, was happy. But there's always been this question mark between us: what if I'd been brave?" Maya felt tears prick her eyes. "I don't want to ruin things with Zara." "Have you asked Zara how she feels?" Maya shook her head. "Maybe start there," Elena suggested gently. "And Maya?" "Regret weighs more than risk." Maya found Zara in the library, studying for her organic chemistry exam. She slid into the chair across from her, and Zara looked up with knowing eyes. "He's leaving," Maya said without preamble. "I know. And I'm miserable." "I know that too. Zara, I'm so sorry. I never meant to, I tried not to." "Maya," Zara reached across the table, taking her hand. "Breathe. It's okay." "How is it okay?" "He's your brother. I violated some sacred friendship code." "You fell in love. That's not a violation, it's life." Zara squeezed her hand. "I've watched you two dance around each other for weeks. The arguing, the tension, the way you both light up when the other enters a room even when you're pretending not to notice. Honestly, I was starting to think I'd have to lock you in a closet together." Maya laughed wetly. "You're not angry?" "Why would I be angry? You're my best friend. Kai's my brother. If you two make each other happy, that's literally my dream scenario. Family dinners would be so much easier. But what if it doesn't work out? What if we try and fail and then Thanksgiving is awkward forever? What if you don't try and spend your life wondering?" Zara echoed Elena's wisdom. "Maya, you're one of the bravest people I know. You moved across the country to pursue your dreams. You design buildings that defy gravity. Why is this scarier? Because buildings don't break your heart. No, but they don't make your heart sing either." Zara stood, pulling Maya up with her. "Kai leaves tomorrow morning. His flight's at 9. You have 18 hours to decide if you're brave enough to try." Maya spent that evening pacing her apartment, rehearsing and discarding speeches. Around midnight, she grabbed her keys. She'd go to Kai's hotel, confess everything, beg him to stay. Her phone rang. Kai's name flashed on the screen. Hello? Meet me at the observatory. His voice was rough, urgent. Please. I need to see you before I go. 20 minutes later, Maya climbed the stairs to the university observatory, her heart threatening to break through her ribs. She found Kai on the rooftop observation deck, standing at the railing, backlit by stars. You came, he said, turning. You called. They stood facing each other, 3 feet of space that felt like miles. I'm not leaving, Kai said suddenly. I called MIT. Told them I need to defer my return. They weren't happy, but I don't care. Maya's breath caught. Why? Because I can't leave without knowing. Without trying, he moved closer. Maya, I know this is complicated. I know there are 1,000 reasons why we shouldn't do this. But I can't stop thinking about you. The way you argue with me like you're trying to prove something to yourself. The way your eyes light up when you talk about your designs. The way you fit against me when I carried you down that mountain. Kai. I'm not done, he smiled slightly. I've dated other people. Smart, accomplished people. And they were fine. But fine isn't, you. You're infuriating and brilliant and so damn beautiful it hurts to look at you sometimes. And maybe we'll try this and it won't work. Maybe we'll make things complicated with Zara. Maybe we'll crash and burn spectacularly. But Maya, I'd rather crash with you than safely orbit around what we could be. Tears streamed down Maya's face. I told myself I hated you. I know. I told myself you were arrogant and insufferable and everything I didn't want. I know that too. I was lying. She closed the distance between them, her hands finding his chest. I've been lying since the moment we met. I don't hate you, Kai. I'm completely, terrifyingly in love with you. His arms wrapped around her waist, pulling her close. Say that again. I love you, she whispered, looking up into his eyes. I love your brilliant mind and your kind heart and the way you see the universe as something beautiful instead of chaotic. I love how you carried me when I was hurt and made me hot chocolate and stayed up until 3 a.m. helping with my project. I love. Kai kissed her, cutting off her words, and Maya felt the world realign. His lips were soft but certain, his hands gentle but firm on her back. She melted into him, her fingers threading through his hair, for weeks of denied longing pouring into this single perfect moment. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Kai pressed his forehead to hers. I love you too, he murmured. In case that wasn't clear. Maya laughed, the sound pure joy. It was pretty clear. Above them, stars wheeled in ancient patterns. Below them, the campus slept. And between them, something new and terrifying and absolutely right began to bloom. So what now? Maya asked. Now we try, Kai said. Together. One day at a time. I can do that. Yeah. Yeah, she kissed him again, softer this time, a promise. We can do that. The next morning, Maya woke to sunlight streaming through her apartment windows and the smell of coffee. She padded into the kitchen to find Kai at her stove, making breakfast, looking completely at home in her space. You stayed, she said, happiness bubbling up. Where else would I be? He handed her a mug, kissing her temple. Besides, we have announcements to make. Telling people proved easier than expected. Zara shrieked with joy and immediately started planning double dates. Imani, Kai's younger sister who visited that weekend from UC San Diego, teased them mercilessly but approved wholeheartedly. Finally, Imani said. The tension was painful to watch. Professor Cross smiled knowingly when Maya arrived at her office Monday morning, hand in hand with Kai. I see you took my advice. Thank you, Maya said simply. The harder part was figuring out logistics. Kai had deferred his MIT return, but he couldn't stay indefinitely without work. Then Professor Cross offered a solution. Riverside's physics department needed an adjunct lecturer for their astrophysics course, and Kai's research could be conducted remotely with monthly trips to Boston. "I'd be here," Kai said as they discussed it over dinner at Maya's favorite Thai restaurant. "Really here? Not just visiting? You'd give up MIT for Riverside?" "I'd give up MIT for you." He squeezed her hand across the table. "Maya, I've spent 4 years at the best program in the country. I've learned what I needed to learn. Now I want to teach, to do my research, and to be with the woman I love. That's not giving up anything, that's choosing what matters." Maya felt tears threaten again. "When did I become someone who cries all the time?" "When you let yourself feel things," Kai said gently. December arrived with unusual warmth. Maya's thesis project won the university's top architecture award, and her design was selected for potential construction by a nonprofit dedicated to educational access. Kai's first lecture was standing room only, his enthusiasm for the cosmos infectious. They found rhythms together, morning coffee while Maya sketched and Kai read research papers, evening walks along the river, weekends exploring California's coastline. They learned each other's quirks, Kai's absent-minded humming when he worked, Maya's need to rearrange furniture when she was stuck on a design problem. There were adjustments. Their first argument, about whether to attend a physics conference or an architecture exhibition, both scheduled the same weekend, ended with them remembering they weren't actually enemies anymore and could compromise. They went to both. Derek made one final appearance, apologizing sincerely and admitting he'd been pushy and inappropriate. Maya accepted the apology, and he finally moved on. Thanksgiving arrived. The Okonkwo family had always celebrated big, and this year Maya was officially invited as Kai's girlfriend. She was nervous, meeting extended family, stepping into this new role, but Kai held her hand through it all. "Mom and Dad would have loved you," Imani said during dinner prep. "Kai's been different since Boston. Lighter. You did that." "He did that for himself," Maya said. "I just gave him a reason to stay." "Sometimes that's everything," Imani replied. Dinner was loud and warm, full of laughter and good-natured teasing. Zara kept catching Maya's eye and grinning. Kai's aunt asked when they were getting married, and both of them blushed crimson while everyone laughed. Afterward, Kai and Maya escaped to the roof of Zara's apartment building. He'd brought blankets and thermoses of hot chocolate, creating a cozy nest under the stars. "Cold?" he asked, wrapping his arms around her from behind. "Not anymore," Maya leaned back against his chest, perfectly content. "I have something for you." Kai reached into his jacket, pulling out a familiar-looking sketchbook, her ruined one from the party, but beautifully restored and rebound with new leather. Maya gasped, opening it carefully. Someone had painstakingly cleaned each page, removed wine stains, restored smudged lines. Her months of work, saved. "How did you?" "There's a restoration specialist in San Francisco. It took weeks, but I wanted to fix what I broke." "Kai, this must have cost." "You're worth it," he said simply. "Everything we have, everything we're building together, you're worth all of it." Maya turned in his arms, cupping his face. "I love you. Have I mentioned that today?" "Only twice." "I think you're slacking." She kissed him, pouring 4 months of gratitude and wonder into it. When they broke apart, Kai reached for his phone. "Look up," he said, opening a stargazing app. He pointed out constellations, telling her the stories behind them, ancient myths of love and loss, heroes and journeys. Maya pulled out a pencil and began sketching him as he talked, capturing the animation in his features, the way his eyes reflected starlight. "What are you drawing?" he asked, noticing. "You. Us." This moment, she showed him the sketch, the two of them wrapped in blankets, stars overhead, the city lights below. "I want to remember." "Remember what?" "That I almost let fear win. That I almost chose safe over spectacular." She set the sketchbook aside, taking both his hands. That the best things in life are the ones that scare you most. Kai kissed her forehead, her cheeks, finally her lips. You know what's funny? I came to Riverside planning to stay 2 weeks. I thought I'd help Zara move in, meet her friends, then go back to my comfortable life in Boston. What changed? You spilled into my life like wine on paper, messy and unexpected and impossible to ignore. You changed everything, Maya Rodriguez. You changed everything too, Kai Okonkwo. They stayed on that roof until the early hours, talking and kissing and planning. Maya would graduate in May, and Kai's adjunct position would continue. They talked about finding an apartment together, about the scholarships Maya wanted to establish, about Kai's dream of writing a book making astrophysics accessible to everyone. We have time, Kai said as the sky began to lighten with dawn. We have all the time in the world to figure this out. Together, Maya added. Together, he agreed. As the sun rose over Riverside, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold, Maya thought about how much had changed in 4 months. She'd started senior year thinking she had everything figured out, her career path clear, her heart safely guarded, her life mapped out in careful detail. Then Kai Okonkwo had walked into her best friend's apartment and shattered every plan, every defense, every lie she'd told herself about what she wanted. She'd called it hatred because hatred was safer than vulnerability. She'd fought it because fighting was easier than surrendering to something so consuming. But love, Maya had learned, wasn't something you could architect or plan. It was something you built together, day by day, compromise by compromise, kiss by kiss. It was messy and terrifying and absolutely worth every moment of fear. What are you thinking? Kai asked softly. Maya smiled, pressing closer. That my heart knew the truth all along. I just needed time to catch up. And what's the truth? That you were never my enemy. You were always my destiny. Kai laughed, the sound warm and rich. That's incredibly cheesy. I'm an artist. I'm allowed to be cheesy. Fair point, he kissed the top of her head. I love you, Maya. Cheesy declarations and all. I love you too. Now take me home. We have the rest of our lives to figure out, and I'd like to start with a nap. Best idea you've had all night. They gathered their things and headed down from the roof, hand in hand, stepping into their future together, uncertain, exciting, and absolutely right. The sun rose higher, warming the city, as Maya Rodriguez and Kai Okonkwo began the next chapter of their story. Not enemies, not rivals, but partners in every sense of the word. And somewhere in the universe, stars continued their ancient dance, indifferent to the small dramas of humanity. But perhaps, if stars could care, they would have smiled at the 2 people below who'd finally stopped fighting what they'd known all along. That love, like gravity, was a force you couldn't fight forever. And sometimes, the best thing you could do was surrender to it completely.